أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The days for the commemoration of the great martyrdom of Imam Husayn salamullah alayhi are upon us, and it is pertinent that we talk about this great man and what we learn through him. The way Imam Husayn saw Allah was not the way we are understanding Allah. We normally implore Allah at the time of need, at times of difficulties, in order for Allah to alleviate those difficulties. Almost as if to say that these conditions have been imposed upon us and we do not deserve them, and that Allah should come to our aid and to assist us and to remove these conditions that are inconsistent with our human existence and inconsistent with the fate that we deserve. We feel oppressed, we feel wronged. Now this then brings in a lot of complications in our minds, because we supplicate to God and God does not respond. He does not respond in a manner in which we expect Him to respond, and hence we feel that He has not responded. Many become disenchanted with God and with prayers. Others go into self-blame that I must have done something wrong. Look at the perspective Imam Husayn provides in terms of difficulties, sufferings, and the role of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through those sufferings and difficulties. If we look at the day of Ashura, Imam Husayn implores Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease his difficulties, but does not blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Two, when there is no response from God, he turns to God and he says, "You know best what you are doing." Then, as opposed to breaking under difficulties, he begins to grow within those and through those difficulties. Now, he does not see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as that agent who will rectify the situation in the physical sense. Rather, he takes hold of God to be able to go through those challenges in the most dignified manner and to grow through those challenges. Think about this for a moment. As opposed to seeing God as somebody who will rectify the situation, he sees God as an intimate part of his being that will allow him to successfully come through those challenges. How interesting is this? As if to say that, "Oh Allah, I deserve what I get. The situation is due to me myself. It is an outcome of the decisions that I have made. Or that in pre-eternity I have chosen this. Now there is no question of complaining to you of what is happening to me because it is not due to me or that it is not fair. No, the question is, "Oh Lord, I know full well that I take full responsibility for what is happening to me here and now. This is due to me, due to what I have chosen. and I am pleased with what I have chosen. I need you now to make this into a success story for me. He sees sufferings as opportunities. Not only that, he sees sufferings as an outcome of his own choice. Let us just clarify that for a moment. If Husayn Salamullah alayhi had chosen to be diplomatic, he could have struck a deal with Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, Umar ibn Sa'd, and Yazid ibn Muawiyah. He could have still done very, very well for Islam. He could have maneuvered politically. He could have said, I'm safeguarding the faith, and I'm still preaching it calmly. Can you see this? He would have spared his life. He would have not been faced with Ashura, and he would have still been right. And I say this with some certainty. When the truce was offered to Imam Hasan Salamullah alayhi, he also was faced with the same type of a decision. He opted for the truce. And he is still a greater Imam than Imam Husayn was. And we know this from the statements of Imam Husayn or theology, from our theological sort of teachings, that Al-Hasan was the older of the two Shabab Ahlil Jannah. So his choice wasn't wrong. What I'm trying to say here is that there were multiple options there. Al-Hasan chose one. Al-Husayn chose another one. So immediately Al-Husayn Salamullah alayhi does not see Karbala as something that is imposed upon him without his own input. He sees very well that I have chosen this. We can see this from his statement. He says, having my head severed from my body is easier for me than to bow in front of an oppressive tyrant. Although I know at another point he says that Allah does not allow me to humiliate myself by paying allegiance to such a person. Neither does the Prophet, nor do the community of the believers. But there might have been another option to get out of that predicament. But my point here is that Al-Husayn Salamullah alayhi, in a very dignified manner, says that what is coming to me is due to me. And then on top of that, he sees that as an opportunity to grow through. And hence, he sees Allah as a force who will assist him through the trial as opposed to removing the trial. It's quite amazing the way he understood God. If that is an attitude that we can have, life becomes transformed within an instant. We all go through a lot of difficulties. Yes, sometimes it is not due to our own doing immediately. But you can be sure, at some point somewhere, you can trace whatever is happening to us to something that we have done ourselves or our forefathers have done, or something that's happened in pre-eternity. So yes, if somebody is born a cripple, then it is not something of their immediate choice. But there is some defect somewhere in the genes within their lineage. Or there is some atomic bomb that has fallen somewhere. In that way, when we look at things, we'll see, well, no. If we can look at these trials, and if we can take it out of our minds, that this is something alien that is imposed upon me, and I don't deserve this, as opposed to having that attitude, if we can have an attitude that, look, I'll try and rectify the situation, but at the same time, see it as an opportunity for me to grow through, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala acquires a very, very positive role in our lives. That, oh Allah, now I'm faced with this situation. I need you to assist me through it. I'm trying to change it, But if I can't change it, then see me through it. What happens ultimately is that through the challenges of life, we attain ourselves. There is nothing else to be attained in this world. What will we attain anyway? What will we attain? Comfort and luxury for a few days and then we'll die. What is to be attained is that godliness from within. I would much rather be given an opportunity to attain my godliness than to die without that opportunity and then to regret for eternity. I often say this, that Federer does not become the legendary player Federer if it is not for a Nadal in front of him. It was only Nadal that made Federer into Federer. Of course, you guys know Djokovic because you are young people, a lot of you here. My own heroes were Bjorn Borg and McEnroe, the crazy one. But we would much rather have the opportunity to struggle, to suffer, and through that find our inner calling and complete our humanity from within. And that is the attainment of God Himself. Now look at Husayn Salamullah alayhi and the way he expresses these beautiful sentiments. At one point he says, "O Lord, if you have decided to withhold victory from me on this day." How wonderful is this statement? He prays to God, "Give me victory so that I can change this current situation." He comes to a point and he says, "If you have decided to withhold victory from me, then what?" Then the implication is, then allow me to withstand it in the most dignified manner. What a phenomenal sentiment. At the falling of Akbar Salamullah alayhi, what does Husayn say? He says, "Oh Allah, what makes it bearable for me is that you are with me observing what is happening. You have not left my side. You are the one who preserves every soul with what they have earned. And you are the one who shall raise every soul with what they have earned." What a phenomenal sentiment he's giving there. That what makes it bearable is that you are with me. I am not complaining now against you. I am thanking you for being with me in my suffering. What a phenomenal way of invoking Allah. In one of his final du'as, Husayn Salamullah alayhi says, and he fully then is liberated at this point. And he says to Allah, "Ya muta'ali al-makan, azim al-jabarut, husnul bala." O one who is grand in his rank, who is mighty in his majesty, who brings about the best tests. And then he says, "Ya qareeb wa mujib." O the one who is nigh, O the one who responds to every prayer. I will say, Husayn, of what of your prayers has God responded to on this day? Can you imagine? Which of your prayers has He responded to? You are eulogizing and praising Allah and thanking Him. Ya Qareeb, Ya Mujib. Oh, the one who's so proximate. Oh, the one who responds to every prayer. Your Akbar has been taken away. Your Abbas's arms have been torn. Your Asghar's tender neck has been slit. What prayer? See, his prayer was a different prayer altogether. His prayer was, "Oh Allah, be with me through all of this. And if I have you, I lose nothing. But if I lose you, then I have nothing." That is how he finds Allah. Now, I don't know about the authenticity of this, but I do wish to narrate it because it adequately depicts for us the soul of the Blessed Husayn on that day, who after that becomes this iconic figure for the lovers of the truth and those who yearn to have their chests torn apart in order for that light to emerge and to shine through. He ascends a small hill. Everything around him devastated. His world has collapsed. His sisters and women folk about to be taken as captives. His little children to be trampled beneath the feet of raging soldiers. He says, "Oh Allah, I have abandoned the whole creation in your love. Oh Allah, I choose to make these little children orphans so that I may meet with you. Oh Allah, if these swords were to shred me into pieces, this heart will not yearn other than you." This is the glorious way in which Husayn understands the process of suffering and trials to find that beautiful eternal calling. With this, can we pray Surah Fatiha for all our marhumin? Al-Fatiha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين أما بعد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. A year prior to his martyrdom, Imam Husayn gives an epic sermon at Mina. Now Imam Husayn's disposition was such that he could not tolerate and accept injustice. He gives a lengthy khutbah in which he talks about the authority structure of the day, the state of injustice, the false beliefs that were being propagated, and the inactivity of the Muslim Ummah and their passivity. In that khutbah, he brings the blame upon the ulama of the time and the pulpits. He accuses the ulama for their love of this world and wealth, for their love of false prestige. And he reminds them that it is due to your inactivity that the situation has gotten to this state, that it's become irretrievable. Whatever the Blessed Prophet created, the precepts of justice that govern the community, the lofty spiritual morale of the community, everything has been ruined. Why? Because you people have been bought over by your paymasters. He reminds them that, do you not know that you will stand before God and His Messenger answerable for whatever you are doing? Is it not your job to clarify the truth from falsehood? Is it not your task? Have you not been entrusted with this task to distinguish that which has been introduced within the faith from that which is the pure faith? Does Allah not sustain you? Do you lose faith in the promise of God? Where will these appreciative minds and tongues be on a day when all mouths are silenced in front of God? What will happen to you then, O people? He's very bitter in his tone. He's very forceful. The point that I would like to make, however, is the final point that he makes. When we look at this khutbah, we are reminded immediately of the khutbah of Ali salamullah alayhi, Imam Ali. In Nahjul Balagha, that Sayyid Radi has quoted as the second khutbah, Shakshakiyya. Imam Ali salamullah alayhi talks about the state of Khilafah and how it has moved away from the precepts of justice and righteousness and God-centricity and become covered with greed and coveted desires for wealth and power. Finally, Imam Ali says that had it not been for the promise that Allah has extracted from those of knowledge that they will restore social justice and give back to the oppressed and the poor what belongs to them and is hoarded within the hands of the tyrants and the wealthy, I would have cast the reins of the Khilafah upon its own back, as I did so in the case of the very first one, meaning Khalifa Abu Bakr. Imam Husayn, at the peak of his khutbah, resonates the same sentiment. He says, by God, ما كان منا منافسة للسلطان ولا لحصول فضول الحطام. By God, my speaking, my endeavors to get it right and to talk about justice is not in order to compete for the attainment of authority over you or the worldly authority or khilafah. And neither is it for me to achieve the wealth of this world. Then why, O Husayn? He said, it is because I am duty bound to restore justice. I am duty bound to give back the oppressed their rights, the poor what they deserve. I am duty bound to clarify the truth. From here, I'm going to make one last point and then finish. That these noble souls, these beautiful spirits, their task is a spiritual one, to refine humanity in its morality, to bring them to that point of God-centricity where they begin to evolve in the love of Allah and become godlike. That is their essential task. Accidentally then they acquire the reins of authority. Otherwise no prophet or divinely guided imam covets or yearns or seeks for authority over the heads of the people. They at times are forced to take charge of human beings. Otherwise their task is a very noble one of spiritual enlightenment and moral refinement. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of Imam Husayn, enlighten our souls, bring us to a world that coexists harmoniously, a world that shares in the goodness of humanity, a world that is refined in its spirituality and its want of that beautiful God that they all yearn, who is beyond colors, genders, languages, statuses and religions. At once the one God of all and at once other than all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring us to that point where we leave this world a little bit better than what we find it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل وسلم على محمد المصطفى